Okay, so we should be live in X or Twitter or whatever that is right now. Let me see if I can find the link to check it out. Yeah, so it seems like we are live in X. Uh, and we should be live on YouTube as well. Yes, we are. So, hi, Mati, how are you? How's everything
Hey,
going?
good morning, good afternoon. I imagine people are going to join from all over the world, so welcome. I don't see anybody here,
Welcome, welcome.
zero views, so
Yeah, I mean, apparently we have like 3 viewers right now. So
oh,
welcome to the
nice.
stream. My name is Marcos, and I'm here with Matias. We are from the Dagger team. I don't have the Dagger hoodie, maybe some other time. But the idea of this space is basically to like spend an hour trying to Daggerize something, right? For the sake of Daggerizing, basically dog fooding our product, and also like looking for cool ideas to Daggerize. And because this is the first stream, Matias actually had a really good idea on like Daggerizing something that we're gonna tell you in a minute. But yeah, I mean, not only if you want to like spend the time with us, understanding Dagger, or maybe helping us Daggerizing the project, I think it's a good opportunity. Like if you don't know Dagger, or maybe you're using it, or you have any questions, feel free to ask any questions to us. You should be able to ask anything on the chat. I don't know how it works for X. Oh, it works actually. Hi Guido. So we have like a friend is actually watching.
Nice.
So apparently, if you um, write a message on the Twitch, sorry, not Twitch, on the X thread, I'm able to see it here as well on the platform that we're using for streaming.
Nice.
So yeah, as I was saying before giving the mic to Matias, welcome. The idea is to Daggerize something, spend like a time boxed hour doing it, so we don't like make this very long.
hmm
And yeah, thank you for joining us, Mati.
Yeah. So, quick intro into Dagger and why we chose the project that we chose. I'm a bit confused because I have to look at you on this screen, but the camera is on the other one, so I'm gonna be looking back and forth. Um, Dagger is a tool that tries to solve the problem of application delivery pipelines. Actually, tries to solve the pain that application delivery pipelines often have. Um, Many of those pipelines are usually very messy. They're hard to debug. There's a lot of YAML, and they're not very reproducible. So we have a phrase that we've been using, which is push and pray, and you're often just messing with the script, messing with the YAML. You're not able to test it locally. You commit it, you push, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. So we've been thinking what kind of projects we could use to show off that you can actually have a good experience trying to develop these type of pipelines. And we decided to go with CLIs because CLIs often have a programmatic release process or building process that you often want to target many images, you want to target many platforms. And we wanted to pick a tool that was familiar with most of you. So let me switch screens. We're very new at streaming, and I'm streaming from Linux, so this might not go very well. Let's see. Did that work? I think it worked. Okay, so the project that we're going to be Daggerizing today is Homebrew. Of course, we're not going to Daggerize the entire contents of the project, but we are going to start focusing on a small section of the release that happens with Homebrew images to the different registries. And yeah, hopefully you can learn something about how to use Dagger, and you can learn like where you can get started and how you can actually. I think the most important thing that people can take away from today is that you can adopt Dagger using like tiny steps. You don't need to go all in and just migrate everything away. And hopefully today helps show that as an example. Anything you want to say before we get to coding?
No, that's a perfect intro. Thank you, Mati. So yeah, let's get right
Nice.
into it.
So what are we going to be Daggerizing? Like we said, Dagger is for application delivery pipelines, for continuous integration in general. So we're going to go straight into the GitHub folder. We're going to look for the workflows. And we already prepared some of this in terms of what we should Daggerize so that we could take full advantage of this hour. So we chose this particular workflow, which is docker.yaml. And let's go over what the workflow does. So as you can see, this workflow is being triggered whenever the Docker file changes or the workflow itself for Docker changes. And if we go right here, we go straight into the actual logic that the workflow has. And you can already start seeing that this workflow has like a program within, even though it's written in YAML. We can see here that using GitHub Action workflows, we are creating what's called a matrix strategy. And this essentially means that all of the steps that are below this are going to be executed for each of these strings. So we have the 18.04, 20, 22, and 24. And each of the steps that are below are going to be evaluated for each of these values. So we already have a sort of for loop that we cannot test locally. This is something that it's on the YAML itself. If I want to add a new version or remove one and make sure that everything works, I need to test it within the action itself. So let's look at each individual step. So of course, we're checking out, fetching the latest version from master. And then we're moving ahead with building the Docker image for Homebrew. As you can see, we're doing a Docker build. We're tagging it with the name brew. And then we're just adding a bunch of labels that we'll get into the specific of this later on. As a next step, we're running some tests using that same image that we built initially. So all of these steps will run on the same instance. And we build an image first, and then we use that image on the subsequent steps. And here we can see that we have a little bit more logic. You know, we'll have an if here saying that, hey, if the ref is a tag, then I want to do this. And what this is basically tagging the brew image we built initially with different versions for both Homebrew itself and the matrix version that we saw above. So what is this doing overall? Is saying, okay, for each of the versions that I have here, I want to build a Homebrew image using that version as a base. So Ubuntu 18.04, Ubuntu 20.04, and so forth. And then right here, we're saying, okay, only when the ref that triggered this workflow is a tag, I want to go ahead and for Ubuntu 18.04, release the Homebrew version in question. And the brew version, as you can see, starts right here. It's the GitHub ref, the first 10 characters of the GitHub ref. And since the GitHub ref is a tag, I imagine that we're not really going to go away from there and break the logic. And then if we continue moving forward, we're just doing the same thing, but for different registries. Here we're doing it for ghcr.io. Here we're doing it for Docker Hub. And then right here, we're releasing the official image of Homebrew on both GHCR and Docker Hub. So you can see that we're doing Homebrew brew, and then here GHCR Homebrew brew, and then here we're doing Homebrew Ubuntu, and then the version of Ubuntu, and then the version of brew. So basically we are building an initial image and then publishing that image as in two different registries as two different basically target images. One is called Ubuntu and the other one is just the official brew image. And yeah, I think that's the overview. Should we get
that's pretty much it.
straight to
one of the things that I can see on this pipeline is that like two things. First of all, as Matthias actually mentioned, the pipeline is basically separated into multiple steps, right? The build, the test, and then the deploy step. But as you can see, there's a lot of copy pasting between commands, especially on the deploy part, right? There's a lot of like Docker tag, Docker push, sorry. And then there's logic, right, in the pipeline as well. Like if starts with and the matrix version is XY, then do this and that. And of course, like trying to first of all, this cannot be run locally, right? Because it uses like a lot of variables and basically GitHub specific syntax and features. And secondly, it is very verbose. And I would say it's up to a point, it's somehow inefficient because if you see the matrix, for example, you're checking out the code multiple times, right? Because the first step of the matrix is basically checking out the code.
Yep.
So this is gonna run a job on a different, first of all, it's more expensive, right? Because you're running a job on multiple VMs.
Yep.
So one matrix item is gonna be one VM in GitHub Actions. And I don't know if you knew, but GitHub Actions actually rounds the time of the execution of the VM, like rounds it, like does a ceiling on that rounding. basically, if you, I don't know, if you start an action that takes 10 seconds, you're going to be billed for a whole minute of the VM, like basically be turned on.
Nice. So here we already have
yeah,
at least 4 minutes of paying time.
Exactly. And particularly, so imagine that you're deploying something and you are hitting the last part of the build, which is the one that has the if statement on the version.
Yep.
In all the deploy steps, you're only going to execute this for one of the matrix items, right? Not all of them. But yeah, basically you are spending unnecessary time, spending unnecessary money on VMs that might not be necessary to be spawned.
Yep.
And not only that, I think the most important thing is that it might be less efficient, right? Because you are cloning the code every time, and then you might be doing some things that would leverage the Docker or Dagger caching. So we'll see if this pipeline ends up being faster or not. That's gonna be one hypothesis as well.
Nice.
But yeah. So thank you, Matty. Yeah. Let's see how we could Daggerize this.
Yeah. So let's go straight to the terminal. Let me open this up. We already have the code forked on a repository of our own and download it here, so we can get started. Let's make sure that we can show the people can see us and that everything works, that the font is big enough and all that good stuff. But yeah, like Marco said, this pipeline has two main steps. We have a build and test. We can call it like, we can group it as one if we want. And then we have a publish step. Now, like Marcos mentioned, this like will run on multiple like separate runners, and we're going to be like rebuilding the image for each base version. We need to do that same thing with Dagger because the base basically is changing. But maybe you're familiar with Dagger, maybe you're not. But in Dagger, everything is treated, all these things are treated as a container. You don't necessarily build an image and then use that image. You create a base container, and then you do things with those containers. So you can run an exec command and do like a brew test bot only setup. You can do a publish. You can do all sorts of stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to target this type of approach. We're going to say, okay, we're going to have one step for the building and testing, and then one step for the publishing. And we will let all this logic of the strategy, you know, the 4 iterations, the if, and all that stuff within the Dagger module itself. So the resulting GitHub YAML should be as small as we can make it. So let's get started. Let me go back to the terminal. We are in the like root directory of the repo, and here we're going to initialize a Dagger module. This is called a contextual Dagger module, concept that we're still playing around with, something that's not defined in stone, and which is initialize. We're going to use Go, of course. What else could you use? Now, we're kidding, of course. Like Dagger supports TypeScript, supports Python, so you could use other alternatives. We prefer Go. So let's initialize the module.
While the module is initializing, for those who actually don't know Dagger very well, Dagger is basically a tool that allows you to like transform your messy CI scripts or YAML into actual code. And by code, I mean not YAML code, like real code. And we actually support different SDKs that you can write these pipelines in. Currently, as Matthias was saying, we support TypeScript, Go, and Python. But we do have support for some non-official that we are trying to make official SDKs, like Java SDK, Rust, Elixir as well. Hopefully those are going to be mainstream very soon.
Nice.
And the good thing about Dagger is that we push towards a world where everything that you write in Dagger is called a module, right? Which is basically a piece of code that it is a function, right, that performs a specific task, which that function can be reused across the whole ecosystem, right? So you can write a function, for example, that, I don't know, builds a container, and then someone else that is writing a Dagger pipeline in any SDK should be able to use your function, right? As long as the function is generic enough, and call it from whatever SDK they want.
Nice.
So we are going to show you a little bit about this later, but yeah, that's the whole idea about the Dagger project.
Nice. So the Dagger init finished, and we can see that it created a Dagger.json file where it basically has the information about this module, the name, which SDK is using it, where you can find the code of the module, like the actual logic, and then the version, the Dagger engine version. We won't get into the details of what the engine is, but we can link the documentation and you can learn more about that there. And then we have the Dagger folder, which has the actual code for our module. So let's open up Vim. We use Vim, by the way. Let's do Dagger main.go, and it's being ignored. Dagger main.go. We're gonna have to mess with the git ignore because it's not liking our new files that got generated. So this is the contents that get automatically generated by the CLI. You can see that we have the brew module, which is just the top level name. And then the brew module has the brew structure, has different methods. These are the methods that are going to be able to be called from the CLI. So if I go here and I do a Dagger functions in the like root of the repository, this is going to detect that there is a dagger.json in my current directory. It's going to interpret the module, and it's going to list all the functions that this module has available. And you can see that we have container echo and grepdir, which are these two functions here. This one receives a string argument and then just echoes it. And this one does some pattern matching and finding some grepping in the container itself. So if I do a Dagger call and I specify container echo and I say string argument, hello, let's say Daggerizing the world. Did I write that correctly? Okay, what did I do wrong? Call.
Something on the terminal.
Oh,
yeah, looks okay to me.
There we go. I was missing a. This should execute the. There we go.
Yeah,
and
what this is doing basically, it's like downloading the Alpine image that you could see on the pipeline, and then it's basically it's not doing anything right now because we didn't tell Dagger to do anything with the container, right?
Exactly. So this returns a container where the command echo is going to be executed. So similar to the run command or the CMD on a Docker file, what we can do here is ask for the output of this container. So we could say standard out, and this should go through the same logic, but since we already run a Docker call first, the action of downloading Alpine latest and adding the with exec should already be cached. It shouldn't be recomputed, so that should be much faster. And it's actually going to go ahead and do the standard out. If I call it again, it should be faster and just finish a bit more quickly. There we go. Nice. So we have a function. Let's remove this one. We don't care about that one. Let's open up the docker.yaml on a side. There we go. And let's get started. So the first step that we have here is to build the Docker image. However, you can see that this gets done inside a for loop, basically, because we have this matrix of multiple items. So we can get started by just creating a function that's called base container that receives a version, which would be like the Ubuntu version, right? And then just goes ahead and creates like a container from the Docker file that is in the top level of the homebrew directory. So let's go right here and let's call it, let's do like this. Let's call it base container. And then let's say base container returns the container from homebrew's Docker file. There we go. And we're going to receive a base image, right? Nice. Okay, let's do this because I prefer it this way. Nice. Okay, we're going to remove that. And now using the SDK, you will find that there are like a bunch of methods that you can use. And there is one particular one that it's from a container, that basically allows you to start what was the name of was it Docker build? Docker build?
Yeah, Docker build.
Nice. Okay, so from the container, right? From the container,
the container, you should be able to do Docker build.
Docker build a new container.
From a directory, you should be able to do Docker build, sorry.
Oh, from a directory, perfect. Okay, so this is where we start into how Dagger actually works. the function call that you make happens in an isolated environment, meaning that there's no direct access to the underlying host. So if you want to have, for example, the entire contents of your application, the Git directory, all the files, you need to explicitly send it to the function call so that it can actually receive all of that. So we're going to add a method that is source directory and receives the base image, right? So let's do, and then let's check where within the, is it at the top level? Yeah, it's at the top level. Nice. So if we do source.docker build, and from here we can start adding some stuff, right? Because this returns a container,
That's
right?
going to give us a container, yeah.
Nice, okay. What options does it receive? Let's check that out. Let's go to directory, and here we have the platform, the Docker file, which it's going to be just Docker file, the main one. And then we have build arguments, which I think it's what we need. We have the name and the value. Perfect. Nice.
That's because the Docker file uses a build argument, basically.
Nice. Okay. So let's go back and let's say this is Dagger. There we go. I don't want that. Boom. Okay. So we have Docker file. I don't know why this is. There we go. We have Docker file, and this is going to be just Docker file, right?
You don't need to specify it because if the name is the default, you should use that one.
Nice. There you go. So we go straight to specifying the build arguments, which is a list of build arg, right? There we go. And then here we're going to start adding basically everything. Let's going to return this. Return. And source. There we go. Nice. Okay. So let's open up docker.yaml and let's start adding every single one of these build arguments that we have. I'm going to add a few and then we'll add the other ones so that we can.
Only the first one. The other ones are labels.
Oh, the other ones are labels. There we go. Okay, there. So we need this one. Okay. So the name of the parameter is a version and the value is the actual base image that we receive via parameter. So let's remove this. There we go. So with this, we have the base container. Should we add the labels to this returning container? Yeah, right? Because we're going to then, I mean, we don't need it to run the test command. It's only for publishing, I guess, but maybe it makes sense to add it here.
Just add it here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Is that like
and you have
label?
A function that is called with label.
With label, there you go. Okay, nice. So I need to open this up again, and then let's store all of this, right? There we go. So what do we have? We have image created. It's a date with this format. We have, okay, so we have some values that we can specify like this one and some values that we should be receiving. And we have a bunch of like GitHub specific variables. So we have GitHub repository, GitHub show, GitHub repository owner. So yeah, let's get started with first all the ones that we can directly configure, which would be basically these two, right? So we want to do with label, and then it's going to be this thing right here and this thing right here. There we go. So let's put this here. There you go. And this is like this. Let me open this up. Okay. Oh. And nice. Okay. So what do we want to do with this one, for example, the date? Should we receive this value directly as a parameter from the CLI, or should we compute it from here?
I am thinking because since this runs, this is interesting as well, because that returns the seconds, I would assume the seconds, UTC seconds from, in that format, right? This is interesting because the current way that the brew thing actually handles this is that it is going to be using a different second for each of the builds, right? Because they happen in parallel.
Yep.
So So that kind of sucks because like each image is gonna be
It was
created
technically created
at a
at the
different
same
time.
time. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, for Brew, it's gonna be at a different time, but you are creating them actually
Yeah.
at the same time,
Yeah.
part of the same build process. So I guess we can either put it here as a first approach, but like another approach would be like, as you were saying, Mati, sending this via an argument of the function and then using the same time for all the images.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's just leave it here for now. And I guess we could find the same equivalent format for Go,
Yeah.
like using the Go time library
Uh-huh.
instead of like calling date, which is like shelling into a binary that could
Yep.
be different on different platforms.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So we could do
if you want, I
something,
can start.
basically something like this you're saying. So if I am grabbing the label,
Yeah. Yep.
and then right here I can do a time.now, and then I can format it.
Now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we can format, I think it's using time.rfc
3339.
339.
Yeah.
And okay, so what
And
does
then seconds.
RFC 3339 equals seconds UTC? Okay, so that's what it returns. Is there like a UTC time.now time zone?
Yeah, there's a UTC.
Now
There's
UTC?
Yep.
Oh, like UTC. Oh, there we go. Okay. So it's like a function. There we go. I don't want that. UTC represents the universal coordinate time. Okay. So
isn't like now.utc? It wasn't, right?
No, there was no UTC function. Oh yeah, there we go. Why didn't I see it before? Nice.
Yeah, now UTC.
So we do a format and then we do time RFC 339. There we go. Nice. And we need to send it as a string, right? Oh no, format already returns a string. My bad. Okay.
I guess we can we run this on the Go playground to see what it
let's go.
Prints?
Let's open Go play.dev, was it?
Yep.
Golang playground. Play.go.dev.
Play.go.dev, yeah.
Oh, play.golang.com. Okay. Nice. So let's print this right here. Let me zoom it in a little bit. Format, imports, format, run. Okay, and what did we return here? Close enough, maybe. No, it's very different.
So it's similar, yeah, but it is different because the time zone and then there's a space.
Yeah, it looks like it's looking for a different, like for this kind of format more than the one that we specified, right? Like it's basically with this plus the seconds, and yeah.
That one is not looking at the. I guess we can just like format it ourselves if we want it to be the same.
Yeah, let's just leave it as is, and then we'll figure out the formatting.
Yeah,
let's do the classic to do. You have got to fix this. Nice, that's great. So we need to receive the GitHub repository name. Are we hard coding this, or should we do like GitHub repo? I think that's better, right? And we specify the name of that way.
Yeah, we can put it on an argument. Yeah.
Yeah. When you fork it or whatever you do, you get the context, like the entire context of. So here we can do with label, and this is going to be https github.com and then the actual GitHub repo, right? And then we're gonna have this. Nice. And what else do we have? We have the image version. Let's with label and replace this. Okay, brew version. So this is going to be the actual like the ref or whatever it is. So let's call it as is. Let's call it like version, right? And then we receive this right here, and then we say version, right? Then we have the GitHub show, and that's also something that we need to receive. So let's do like commit show, right?
Yep.
And we're gonna do this and do commit show. And the GitHub repository owner, same thing. We need to specify the value. So let's do GitHub repo, and then let's do repo owner right here. Nice. So we're gonna do this, and then we'll do repo owner. Okay. Okay. Nice.
Looks good.
I think we have it. Should we test it? Should we do like a Docker call and then exec into the container and see what we can find?
Yeah, sure. Let's try to see if it
Nice.
works.
Let's do.
Is this is not pulling? Oh, it's building from the Docker file. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's do a Docker call of base container, and then we need to specify the version, testing, the commit show, which is also testing.
Is the version like a valid thing? I think it needs to be like a valid Docker like a version, right? Because it's probably going to use in the Docker file like from that version, I would assume.
It's
the build argument.
Is it using the labels on the Docker file?
I would assume it's like using the it has like a default version.
No, but I'm using like version is maybe we should change the name. So base image is the one that we need to be the proper.
Okay,
that's the build argument. The other one are just labels. Yeah. So let's do GitHub repo, and then this is going to be the owner and the actual name. Repo owner, it's going to be this one, and then base image, we're going to call it. Does it need just the version or also the name? No, just the version. Okay, so this should be base image version, right? Base image version. There we go. And then here we specify base image version, and let's do 20.04, something like that.
Yep.
Nice. This should evaluate it and do nothing, because we're basically not doing anything with the container that's being returned. But let's see if we can see some output.
Yeah, but it should run the Docker file.
I didn't source it. There we go. So it says that the required flag source is not set. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to source and then specify the current directory. Nice. Nice. It's copying all the contents.
What the engine is now doing is basically, because the way that Dagger works is very similar to Docker build, where when you build something, you actually have to send the context of what you're building to the build machine, basically. So the reason for it is because you can actually do distributed builds, right? So you can build. So you can start building one machine, and then you can build maybe build it on a bigger machine or like a more powerful machine. And the second aspect of this is that you also need to send the context, so you can have like multiple builds in parallel that do not affect one from each other, right? Some people have requested, why do I need to send the build context if I have the code already in my machine? Can't I just like mount it? But the problem with that is that if you have a pipeline that actually modifies something on that code, then you are not able to basically run things in parallel, right? So yeah, basically BuildKit and Docker build are designed in a way that when you build things, you actually basically get a context of what you're building, and then you send it to the engine, and then the engine basically takes care of building the whole thing.
Nice.
So it seems like it's running now, right?
Yeah, it's doing an apt-get update and install. So should we do like a quick overview of where the engine actually is? Because all we're looking at is some output, and people maybe are thinking that all this is being done by the CLI. But as you actually mentioned, if I do a Docker PS, I might have a bunch of stuff. No, I just have one. Great. I'm not doxing myself in any way. Here we have a Docker container. So for now, to actually use Dagger, you need Docker installed. The CLI is in charge of starting up this container if it's not already there. But if it is, it's just going to connect to it and use it. So from here, I could do another Dagger call, like Marco just said, and it's going to use the same underlying engine. For example, the engine already pulled the Ubuntu 20.04 image. This is not going to be pulled again. It's just already cached. And we can look at some logs. So let's do Docker logs and then Dagger engine. There we go. And we see that, yeah, we're not going to start to understand what exactly it's doing, but I'm going to try to find the command that it's being executed right now. So here we go. Maybe this is too much. Let me know, Marcos. But here we can see that there's like an apt-get update and an install of the things that we're actually doing right now. So you can see that the engine actually received this and is going ahead and executing it within the session, within the container that's being created, that has been created.
Exactly.
Nice. So
yeah, exactly that. One important thing to highlight, I don't know if it is your connection, Mati, but it seems like apt is not running at all. One thing that it is important to highlight is that Dagger does not require Docker, right? So there's a lot of misconceptions, sorry, as well, that we are doing things like Docker in Docker and stuff like that. That is not the case. We are mostly using Docker when you run this locally as a convenience to actually spin up the engine so you can run it.
Yeah.
You can actually download the engine binary yourself. You can run it yourself without Docker, and it's still going to work. But we are basically bootstrapping it using Docker because it's a simpler UX for people that already have Docker installed. Having said that, you can also have it running with Podman and Colima and like other Docker compatible CLIs. But yeah, that's basically like a clarification that we are not doing Docker in Docker.
Yeah.
And we do not require Docker to actually run Dagger. It's only a convenience that we use for local machines.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's like doing something.
Yeah. So my CPU is at 76%, so I don't know how well the stream is working. Again, first time doing this, streaming from Linux. You can see how beautiful the images from Marcos and myself are. They're very styled and a lot of decoration. So yeah, I don't know how well this is going, but do you have any question or something on the chat?
Benefit of we don't have anything on the chat.
Okay.
I guess the cool thing about this is the fact that you can just grab any Dockerize project and just run it as Matthias is doing, like in 10 lines of like actual code. We already like built the image that the project has, which is like very little effort in order to Daggerize something. And as you can see, you can already start seeing the benefits on codifying like everything that happens in your pipeline, right?
So for example, let's say that we wanted to migrate everything to Dagger, so no Docker files. We could basically do something like this. We could say, hey, just start from a container, right? And then let's say like from Ubuntu and then the actual base image. So base image version, just like we do right here, right? And then from here, we could start adding whichever commands we want. So for example, what are we doing here? We're doing an apt-get update and install. So I could grab this, come back here and say, hey, with exec, and then do the actual execing of, and then do sh-c, and then actually specify the entire contents of this command, right? So let's do this. There we go. And then let's do that, right? So you could start step by step, moving everything away from the Docker file to your Dagger module. But like Marco said, it's good to know and to show that you can actually adopt Dagger in a more like sliced way, like one step at a time. Just use the Docker file that you have, Daggerize it within the Docker build function, and then just start moving the logic away. I think the biggest, for me at least, the main way that I use Dagger, that I grab Dagger when I want to do something is, if something is somewhat programmatic, then I don't want to write any bash. I don't want to write any complicated YAML. I want to write the code that I'm familiar with, the tool that I'm familiar with, and just express it there. So I'm still running at 90% CPU usage, and this is still running. I don't know what the hell is going on. Let's look at the Docker file. Maybe I should have
so it's that
run the Dagger engine on a separate machine.
I think your stream just froze, Mati, your screen sharing.
Okay. Let me do something.
For some reason.
Let me stop this. There we go. Let me stop that. And
I need to reshare.
See if,
because I can't see your screen anymore.
Okay, so I just stopped the Docker build function that was being executed, and we might have to run that in your machine to show people how it works. So because I don't have the other computer turned on right now, so I cannot target that one for the Dagger engine. Because that's something that actually could do. I could say, I could tell the Dagger CLI to just point to a different host, and it would use the engine on a separate host. Like Marco said, you don't need the Docker CLI installed. You can just specify, hey, you should connect to this particular engine running wherever, and that's it. Which is actually what we do, for example, for our CI in Dagger in the main repository. Yeah. Okay. So do we want to
do this? I'm not seeing your screen. I guess I can share mine, right?
Okay. Yeah. Let me commit this, and let me go. So we need to do something because everything is being ignored. So let's unignore the dagger.json and the Dagger folder. So I'm adding those two things. I'm committing them.
Okay.
Initial commit with the base container. And then I'm going to push that to the, let me make sure it's this one. Yeah.
Do you want to add a branch, push it to a branch so that we can open a PR against your main branch?
Yeah, I didn't realize I was a master. Let's do that. Let's do Daggerizing Docker workflow. And then let's push Daggerizing Docker workflow. There we go. Okay. So, quick question: is the stream still working? Can they see my screen in the stream?
Yeah. The stream's still working.
Is my screen frozen, or can people actually?
I can see your screen actually. So, yeah,
okay.
So maybe on Discord. So maybe you need to stop sharing and resharing on Discord.
Oh, I see. Okay. Let me move scenes.
I saw you just push this.
Let me stop.
Okay,
sharing.
now I see your screen again.
Okay.
I don't know why, but
you need to start sharing again because your
Let me share mine.
Your camera is now looking very weird.
Okay. I started sharing again.
Let me see what the stream is looking like. Yeah, we're looking very wrong.
Hello. Okay, let me go back to.
There we go. Let me fix this.
My computer, and then this is on Franela. Okay, let me clone this.
Okay.
So this is github.com.
Okay. So
it's on this repository, fixed. Right? And then
there we go.
What I'm doing now is I'm cloning Matthias.
Yeah. Could you? I'm showing your screen. Could you make it a little bit bigger?
Yes. So I can increase this here and increase this here. Okay. So it's cloning the repository.
Nice.
Oh man, this like a brew repository is quite large. Well,
yeah.
I would assume, right? Because it has a lot of things.
Yeah.
Okay. Just finished cloning this. And if the Dagger promise is true, I should be able to say, which is the name of the branch, Matty?
Actually, I pushed it to master too, so
okay.
You have it there.
Yeah, but I'm going to do it here so that we can open a PR to master. And then I should be able to say Dagger functions, right?
Yeah.
It's going to basically load the same thing that Matthias did. It's going to show me the functions, and then I'll be able to say Dagger call, base container.
Yeah.
Base container.
Yeah.
And then I should be able to say now, okay. Oops. What happens with my... Okay, now it's here, sorry. Let's look help again. Okay.
I can send if you want the entire contents
container,
of... Yeah.
Base image. I need the source, yeah.
Source, yeah.
Dot,
base image version.
Version, which was 2004.
Yep.
Commit test.
Nice.
GitHub repo test. I said Franera group.
Yep.
Repo owner Franera.
Yep.
And then version. What did we test, right?
Yeah, test or testing. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
We are gonna add like one -v argument so we can see a little bit more about what Dagger is doing.
Nice.
So and you can see this is way faster in my machine. Probably Matthias' machine was like a bit.
Yeah, OBS.
A bit over. Yeah, over compromised.
And Discord and calls and and sharing the screen and yeah.
Yeah, so basically this is doing the APT. I can see that it is downloading a bunch of stuff on my machine. I can actually try to stop this and maybe because it's funny that I don't see any output. I don't know if the Docker file actually, like if I open the Docker file, I want to see what the Docker file does.
Oh, you're saying that is redirecting output to some other place?
Yeah, maybe, let me put it here. I think it's gonna be more convenient. Okay. So the Docker file is like doing the apt install, no install recommends, and then it's doing, and this Docker file does a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I think we should move
like
forward with
some things on the
Daggerizing, like
queuing.
the publishing, and then we'll come back to the running command once it's done, because it's clearly gonna take a while.
I'm gonna leave it here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's leave it here, and then let's open the Dagger.json.
Yep.
Main.go, right?
Main.go, yeah, Dagger main.go.
Okay, so going back to this, okay, we have the base container. I guess we can, create another function, as Matthias was saying, right? So we're gonna do a function that is called, in the brew module, that is called build, maybe?
What's this one going to do?
Basically going through the matrix and getting each container, and then
publishing?
I would assume that's pretty much it. Publishing could work as well.
So is this one the one that's going to do the publish, or this one is going to, because we have two functions that we need to...
No, this one is going to do the test.
Okay, nice.
So we can do the test one, right?
Yeah, let's do test.
So instead of build, we do this test. Let me open the workflow. Workflows, Docker, right?
Docker,
yeah, this one.
Nice.
So what the workflow is doing is, basically running this afterwards. So once we have our base image, you can run that. So what we can do here, so let's do it with one container first, just to make sure that it works.
Sounds good.
As you can see, I'm getting like complaints from my IDE because I don't have these types. It's important that once you start running on a Dagger project, you basically run Dagger develop first.
Why is that?
What it's gonna do is like, because when you do Dagger develop, Dagger generates some bindings of the Dagger types, which are core to the SDK that you're working on. And you don't need to commit those types because they get regenerated every time that you start Dagger. So in my case, once I have Dagger developed, you're gonna see that I have a folder that is called in Dagger. I have a file that is called daggergen.go.
Yep.
And then internal, these are generated like automatically for Dagger. So once I have this, if I reload my editor.
And the reason for this is so that, like Marcos mentioned initially, Dagger modules basically allow you to like code your module in whichever language you prefer. So there's like Go, TypeScript, Python, and some other non-official module, SDK, sorry. But if I write a module using Python, so for example, I'm writing like a function that starts from Ubuntu and does a bunch of stuff on top, and I want to use that here, I can do that with Python, and then I can just use it from this Go module in particular. What the Dagger CLI does, and as Marcos just showed, is generate the Go code necessary in order to actually be able to use the Python function. It doesn't encode the Python logic within Go. There's a GraphQL API like internally that we won't get into the details of, but it basically like is able to execute that Python code through a Go query. But you just have like a regular function call in Go. You're like hidden away from the implementation details of how this cross-language thing gets implemented. Yeah,
exactly. Nice. Man, this Docker file, Matty, is like,
it is
maybe
insane.
There's an opportunity to like help the Brew team improve a bunch of stuff here. Maybe we can use Dagger Cloud afterwards to understand where the time is basically going. But
that's a good follow-up.
Like 4 minutes. How much? Let me see how much time the Docker step actually take on their CI.
Oh yeah.
Let's see this for a second.
This is a fork.
That's homebrew. Homebrew, brew, GitHub, right? So this one. And we are about the hour, so let's try to finish this building part first.
Nice.
Then we can like wrap it up here, so
we'll
we don't want the stream to like spend a lot of time. So it takes 5 minutes. So each of these jobs, can I see? Yeah.
Each takes 5 minutes. Okay.
Each job.
Yeah.
And this one is this building and publishing?
The Docker build takes 4 minutes, 32 seconds.
4 minutes.
Yeah.
32 seconds. Okay.
Okay.
I don't even know which type of machine they have here, right?
I think it's the
Runner
like
image.
the regular 8 gigabytes of RAM and 2 cores. Yeah.
Because this is already 5 minutes in my machine and it hasn't
That's
finished
kind of
yet.
weird. Yeah.
So this is strange, right? Oh,
Yeah.
maybe because my connection, right? Because this is using like a very fast internet connection.
Mm.
Maybe
It
it's
is doing a
downloading
lot of
bunch
install. I don't
stuff.
see much like lot more logic than that. Like the files that are being mounted and all that stuff. It's not that big. It's just running like commands that download things and do stuff.
Yeah, so it's doing like brew
Yeah.
install.
Yeah.
So it's probably downloading a bunch of stuff that I don't have like a very good connection for. That's why.
Yeah.
But in any case, it's going to be cached the next time, so we should be okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And next
cool.
time
So
we
let's
will
go back
have
to the
a
build.
beefy machine to run this on without breaking the
I
stream.
don't think it's the machine. I think it's the connection actually. The internet connection. Maybe
Yeah.
we can run it on a VM. Anyhow.
Mhm.
So let's use the base container that we created before, and let's try to do the second part of the Docker file, which is the YAML, which is the test.
Yep.
Right?
Sounds good.
And maybe we can wrap it up here.
Sounds good.
So we are gonna try with a single version right now, just to make it easier. So we can do m.base container, right? And then I can send, because I need to send the source directory. I'm gonna have to send the source directory here as well.
Yep.
I can send the source here. Oh, now it failed. Why did it fail?
No, I think it worked okay. Container evaluated.
Oh, where do you see the evaluated? I don't see it.
When you had the split, I saw a container evaluated string at the bottom. Before you,
Okay, let's try it. If we run it again, that should be
should be fast.
immediate, basically. Let's see. Oh, or not, because it's like invalidating the cache.
Oh, sneaky.
Because I modified, since I modified some files.
Yeah, you modified the module, right?
This is gonna invalidate the cache when it up to the moment that it. Well, we can actually show how to improve this. So this is like a good thing to improve, because if I do it on the Docker file, it's gonna happen the same thing. Okay, we're gonna show it afterwards. Never mind.
Yeah, it's a good follow up.
I canceled it. Never mind. Okay, so now that we have the base container, I'm gonna send the source directory, and then as a version, I'm gonna send I don't know, foo.
Yep.
And then commit SHA is gonna be foo. And then GitHub repo is gonna be Franella brew. And then repo owner is gonna be Franella. Well, thank you, Copilot. And then the base image version is gonna be 2004.
Nice.
Once I have this container, right? Because I have like a proper type, I can actually, in order to run commands on this container, I can run with exec. And then I'm gonna send a string. And in this case, I basically need to like do the same thing that the
brew test bot only setup. Yeah.
Brew, right? From that image, I can call brew and then test bot and then only setup. So I should be able to say brew, test bot, and then only setup.
Nice.
Right? Only setup. Because I'm not interested in the outcome of this, right? This basically is gonna run a command that passes or not. What I can do is basically call, Dagger has a function. If I don't need to retrieve anything from this output, like the standard output or anything, I can just say, but I guess I want the standard output to see why it failed. So I'm gonna get the standard output out of this. Oh, actually, no, if I call sync, if there's an error, I'm gonna see both the standard output and the error on both.
Oh, that's good.
I'm gonna call sync.
So in the output of the CLI, the thing that failed is actually shown.
Exactly.
Okay.
When you print the error, you're gonna show the standard output and error. So if I call sync, you're gonna see that I get a container and an error here. Yeah. Right. So I'm gonna get the container, which I'm not gonna use, so I'm not gonna assign it to anything, and then the error. I'm not gonna assign the container, and then I'm gonna assign the error. Yeah. And this is gonna be if error.
Could we just return the error, and if it fails, it will see the Dagger CLI takes care of it?
Yeah, you can just return the error and
not print it. Just do like return error. Nice. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, you can do
simple. All we need to receive the context here. Yeah.
So I can just pass it over here.
Yeah.
It's like a traditional Go. This is a Go thing.
Yeah.
Or other SDKs.
The CLI, the actual engine like takes care of calling this. So yeah.
Yeah, so I don't need, context is basically a thing that Go uses. For other SDKs, this same function is a promise. So the only thing that you need to do on this is await it. So that's
Yep.
fine.
Nice.
So, and I'm gonna do context. Man, I do see a lot of potential of like improving this build. So
Oh yeah,
I'm
for
super
sure.
happy about it.
It's a good follow up. Yeah.
Okay, that's it. So once I have this, I should be able to do dagger call, same dagger call that I did before. So I'm gonna do it here. I already have all the arguments. So it's dagger call, but
Actually,
instead of like
test only receives the source because you're hard coding the other ones, so you can just simplify it. Yeah. And do like dagger call source
so,
and yeah.
Dagger call test and then source dot.
Yep.
And that's it, right?
Yep.
This is gonna basically do the same thing as before. Before doing this, let me add something to the Dagger JSON, because we don't want, when you send the context, you only care about the things that the build process actually do, right? So one of the things that are usually canceled during the like excluded during the in the context build is basically, there are two things. One is the GitHub repository.
Yeah.
And the other one is the Dagger source code as well. Because if I modify this code and then I do a Dagger call again,
yeah,
a lot of the things are going to be invalidated because I changed this code basically.
Yep.
Right? So Dagger is going to invalidate some things. So in order to avoid this, if you open the Dagger JSON, you can actually add exclude.
Okay. So
and then this is
would you say that this is in some way similar to a Docker file ignore?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same thing as a Docker file ignore. Do we have a Docker file ignore here? I don't think
there is. I see one here. Docker ignore. Sorry, not Docker file ignore. My bad. Yeah.
Okay, so we should add this definitely to the ignore, and I think this was an array of patterns, so I can actually say, okay, ignore the Dagger JSON.
Yeah.
Ignore the Dagger folder.
Okay.
I can't recall if it is like this or with a star
with the
right now,
W and the double star, the slash and double star.
And then, and then let's do this one as well. And then let's do this one as well.
So what you're saying is that in comparison to what happened before, you basically run the Dagger call command, the container got evaluated and everything was computed, and then when you ran it again, everything was happening again. The reason why that was actually happening is because you changed the code by adding the test function, so on main.go, and Dagger interpreted that as saying, hey, the context changed. And this is we're talking about the top level context. So if that invalidates everything. So it doesn't matter what you do below. If the top level context changes, then everything below needs to be evaluated. You can think of it like as a top level layer that it's invisible to you. And this that you added
it's the same
here
way that
is,
Docker, that Docker build works. Like as you can see here in Docker build, I mean, we're actually calling Docker build. So when Docker build is actually doing copy, right? So it's basically copy my local source code into this folder. If something changes from the context, which is because this is copying the whole context, then this is gonna execute again.
Nice.
Right? And we don't want basically any Dagger specific code to actually invalidate this.
Nice.
So that's why. So we have the excludes. So we should be able to do the Dagger call again. And if this works, I guess we can wrap it up here. What is this? Module.
Could you open up the Dagger JSON? Is it broken?
Mess it up with the exclude somehow. Was it exclude?
Was it exclude or was views? The concept of views. I think we.
No, you can use exclude here. So let me look for it. Dagger. Let's see if we have it on the docs. It's like a quite new thing. No, let me look it up in Dagger. Exclude. So this is JSON file. No. Include and exclude host your copy name. This one maybe. Let's see if I have it here. No, this is like a very old thing. Host your options, include, exclude.
Here we go. Here we have an example for the.
You found it?
Yeah, you can go to SDK Python dev dagger.json. If you go to the file, you should see like a sample dagger.json config, which has the proper exclude.
Dagger.json. And then Python dev, this one, right?
Yep. That one, yep.
So I'm doing it right?
I think
it's the
so.
same thing that I'm doing.
I don't see anything wrong. Yeah.
So
could you show the error again?
What is it basically telling me?
Are you in the right directory?
Module name, an SDK. Oh, maybe because I wouldn't be excluding this.
Oh, the JSON. I don't think the JSON should be excluded.
Oh, maybe that's why.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. I mean, we shouldn't exclude Dagger code. I mean, that is something.
Yeah.
That we need
How
to,
is it going to
reassess.
generate? Yeah.
So it doesn't invalidate the.
It doesn't get sent to the engine, so the engine cannot generate the code for. Yeah. Okay. Should we wrap up and?
Let's wrap it up. This is gonna probably take some time because it needs to re-download everything. So it's doing about. Again, this is very inefficient because. Again, it's not a Dagger specific thing. It's like the way that. I mean, this is one of the reasons why Dagger exists. It is very difficult to write proper Docker files, right?
Yeah.
And once you write a proper Docker file, imagine that you spend like, I don't know, 1 week improving a Docker file, like tuning the caching, tuning the layers, tuning all this. The problem is that nobody else can actually reuse what you did, right? The only thing to actually use your improvements is doing copying and pasting. And when you do copy pasting, a lot of these good practices basically are left behind because maybe you forgot to do something, or maybe you don't understand what why the other person was doing what he was doing.
Yep.
So one of the benefits of Dagger is basically encapsulating all these like very difficult I don't know, caching layers or specific constructs into code, so then other people can actually call that code and reuse what you actually did, right, the same way.
Nice.
So yeah,
nice. Okay.
I guess
I'm going to move to the intro so that we can see our two faces a little bit bigger. Let's go. Don't stop sharing so that it doesn't break. Nice.
Yeah, hopefully this finishes building and we can show the people you know, that the container got evaluated. Maybe we can actually run the brew thing. I don't know how much time that's gonna take.
Okay.
But basically summarizing, we got to a point where we wrote the two functions, right, for our module. The first one returns a base container. The second one is starting to run the tests. As you can see, it's taking huge amount of times, probably because it's very inefficiently cached, right? So it's like basically recomputing a lot of things all the time.
Yeah.
And we are gonna see. I mean, this is very, very interesting because even when you run on different systems, I think we're gonna be able to leverage the cache on the matrix usage. So we're gonna have to see this. But in any case, yeah, we got to build a base image. We didn't get to the point where we could test it because the building part was taking a lot of time.
Yeah.
Due to like pulling dependencies and basically it's downloading a bunch of stuff, so it's taking a lot in our machines. Yep. So the next session is gonna be wrapping up the matrix build, so we can build multiple versions of it, and then probably doing the deploy as well.
Nice.
So next Friday we can continue with this.
Nice. Sounds good. So next Friday we're going to go ahead and remove YAML, right? Goal for next Friday is to start with a lot of YAML and finish with very little YAML.
Nice. Yeah, hopefully.
That's a good goal.
Thank you for tuning in. I don't think we got any questions, but if I missed that, feel free to send them over via XDMs.
Is this video going to be saved somewhere? Are we going to have it on YouTube and people are going to be able to see it there?
The video is going to be saved in YouTube afterwards. So if you go to my channel right now,
nice.
If you look for my name in like YouTube, you're going to see my channel, and then you're going to be able to see the recording.
You can post a link in Twitter or X, whatever it is, later on.
By the way, Mati, this just finished. I don't know if you still can share my screen.
Let me switch to your screen. There you go. Nice. So what happens when you do a Dagger call again now for the...
So if I don't change anything, this should be immediate.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you can see, it didn't install anything. But now it's complaining. It's running the brew test.
Oh, nice.
But now it's complaining that the brew Docker failed because my... Yeah.
Oh, it needs to have like a clean Git directory. Okay.
A clean directory, and we are basically modifying the Dagger.json files.
Yeah.
So,
but that will invalidate the cache, right? If we change the Git directory, because the underlying source is changing.
What do you mean if you change?
If you commit, there's going to be some changes in the .git folder, and
yes,
that will invalidate and it will rerun. Yeah.
Let's wrap it up with that. So if I commit Dagger files, and then I run this again, it's gonna invalidate the cache and probably run the whole thing again.
Yeah.
See, it's running this make dir.
Yeah, starting all over.
This is a very inefficient Docker file, basically. So that is something that we definitely can improve.
Yeah, for sure. Nice.
Sounds good.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you for everybody that joined. And hopefully this next section we will achieve all our goals.
Thanks, everyone. Looking forward for the next Friday to continue working on this.
Nice.